I think Greenland will be worked out with us. I think we're going to have it. I don't know really what claim Denmark has to it, but it would be a very unfriendly act if they didn't allow that to happen, because that's for protection of the free world.
Exciting times these are for any listeners who may have drawn the Danish-American War of 2025 in their annual office forecasting sweep. At issue is Greenland. Greenland is, at present, part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Indeed, in strictly territorial terms, Greenland is most of the Kingdom of Denmark. And before we get properly into things, a brief reflection on Greenland's geography would probably help furnish some context to what is, as of this broadcast, merely a bewildering diplomatic spat between nominal NATO allies, but something which could conceivably grow more serious, both in the high North Atlantic and elsewhere. As cunningly foreshadowed, Greenland is huge. If it was, as some of its people would prefer, an altogether independent sovereign state, it would be the world's 12th biggest country by area, slotting in ahead of Saudi Arabia and Mexico. To frame that in terms which may, who knows, shortly become more pertinent, Greenland is 3 times the size of Texas, give or take, more than 5 times the size of California. Now, and we're assuming, as always, that you have your globe close by, maybe one of those ones that opens to reveal a cocktail cabinet, take a look at where it is. Greenland is wedged alongside the Arctic Circle in between the Arctic archipelago of Canada and the Norwegian and Barents Seas above Scandinavia and Russia, a clearly crucial strategic location, much the more so as melting Arctic ice opens up new trade routes which can be exploited and must be defended. Also, have a think about what lies beneath and or just off Greenland. Immense natural resources, including potentially vast oil reserves, which Greenland's government stopped looking for a few years back for climate-related reasons. And all of this is home to just 57,000 or so people, i.e. about the population of Pocatello, Idaho, which you've never heard of. Though Pocatello, Idaho is home to the Museum of Clean, which, it says here, presents many dimensions of clean through art, displays, exhibits, print and participation. Includes what may be the world's largest collection of vintage vacuum cleaners, and a statue of a giant janitor. Big hello to all our listeners in Pocatello, Idaho.
Hello, Pocatello.
Anyway, what has hopefully been established here is that Greenland is strategically important, naturally bountiful, and much potential on both fronts languishes untapped, if you're that way inclined. It is, for example, and no offence, an obviously greater asset than Pocatello, Idaho, and it has clearly caught the eye of recently reinstalled US President Donald Trump. Greenland, that is, not Pocatello, Idaho, upon which Trump has never pronounced, though hat absolutely off to local outlet East Idaho News, which this week used Trump's promise to declassify the files pertaining to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy as a hook for cranking out 1,500 words on that one time JFK spoke at Pocatello High School while campaigning in 1960. Idaho still voted for Nixon, mind. Trump first floated the idea of the United States acquiring Greenland in 2019. Nobody really took it seriously at the time, and then everybody sort of forgot about it after he lost the 2020 election. But Trump returned to the theme when campaigning last year and has scarcely shut up about it since being sworn back in earlier this month. While it has been historically not entirely unheard of for Donald Trump to just say stuff that pops into his head, very often about shower pressure, he is President of the United States, and everyone is therefore obliged to take him at least somewhat seriously.
Jeg synes, det er vigtigt at holde fast I, at det på den ene side...
Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen certainly is. She has announced a $2 billion Arctic security package and undertaken a dash around Europe seeking to shore up support, with some success. France's Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot even hinted at a willingness to deploy French troops to Greenland. The key questions then. Could the US do this? And would the US do this? First, the could they. Trump initially suggested purchasing Greenland, and such a proposal is not without precedent. The US bought a huge chunk of its middle from France in 1803, Alaska from Russia in 1867, and made covert inquiries about Greenland in 1946. Then, as now, however, the Americans were told that Greenland wasn't for sale at any price. The US has the head start of a military facility in Greenland, Pituffik Space Base, garrisoned by 200 or so frostbitten American soldiers. 1,500 kilometres of daunting tundra from Greenland's capital, Nuuk, it seems an unlikely bridgehead. But even if Nuuk could be swiftly seized by the paratroopers of the 82nd Airborne, this would create quite the diplomatic and strategic crisis. I've had a look at the NATO treaty just now, and it is frankly hazy on what happens if one member invokes Article 5, the Collective Defence Clause, against another. The possibility must be considered that the NATO skeptic Trump is somehow trying to get the US thrown out of the alliance, much as someone wearied of a relationship may behave suboptimally in order to get dumped, thereby acquiring liberty while evading blame. As for the would they, as always where Trump is concerned, the answer is who knows, often accompanied by a resigned upthrowing of hands. Even if that answer is, at the risk of tempting fate, probably not, that's not really the thing. The thing is the United States' supposed backstop of a rules-based order, even countenancing the prospect of old-school territorial conquest. As much as Europe is alarmed, China and Russia are encouraged. For Monocle Radio, I'm Andrew Mueller.